can either believe it or they cannot believe it. I don't give two f***s, but I am telling you right now, that back there is not real.
It looks like the powers that shouldn't be are at it again as the UN is pushing this pact for the future. Very similar to the same things that are being pushed out of the World Economic Forum and also out of the Bilderberg meetings, things that are also discussed at Bohemian Grove. Well, the UN now seeks these permanent emergency powers. And it's for future events that we have not even seen yet. Some future disaster, some unknown crisis is what they're putting this in motion for. It gives them this unprecedented authority over the public and private sectors to be able to connect us to huge swaths of the world. Now, Biden and his administration backing everything that the WHO and the UN have been doing and putting out there. And all of this is set to be finalized at their upcoming Summit of the Future, which is scheduled to take place in 2024. And they are looking to adopt this pact for the future. And therefore, this emergency platform that they're going to be rolling out, this emergency platform, whatever this is going to be used during any event that they deem to be an emergency and that has global impact, and they will reach all the people through this. Some wonder what this could be and in what forms. Well, they could simply already go through all the social media outlets that are out there and just tap into them using the leadership of those platforms, like a Zuckerberg and whatever platform he controls. He could just air it out all across the board, put it on a banner, display it, and do whatever he wants for the beast to promote this or to put out any alerts or any warnings. So this is getting extreme. Now, they're telling the whole world they are seeking permanent emergency powers.
Every government in the world has a secret government behind it that run the show. If you think that the president, the prime minister, you think they're doing it, they're puppets. 100% puppets. They control armies, nations, governments, all the money in the world, all the richest families in the world, the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers. And I can tell you already one thing, that anyone that somehow made money within a very short span of time has to be part of it. And you think that Mike Zuckerberg owns Facebook? He's a puppet. Facebook was created for their manipulation. Same thing with YouTube, same thing with WhatsApp and Instagram and Netflix and everything. How did Netflix become so big within 2 years? Only with the power of the ultimate endless money of the world. And it's much more than that. World War I was designed by them. World War II, designed by them. Federal Reserve, which people think belongs to the American government. Doesn't belong to the government even. It's a private organization. NASA, CIA, the assassination of JFK, who was the first one who ever talked about it, got a bullet in his head. And needless to say, the attack on the Twin Towers, it wasn't bin Laden. It was all one big agenda because they needed to go to Afghanistan. You know why? To put pipes in the sea. It's all one big show. We're being fooled, and millions of Americans are cheering. We're going to a war against terror. No, you've been fooled. And you think it's different in Israel? You know that Israel was built by the Freemasons, by the way, by the Zionists. There's nothing here kosher. Who approved? Who approved the Declaration of Israel? The United Nations, of course. An organization of peace and unity, and we love all. It's a terror organization built by the New World Order. And they approved the Declaration of Eretz Israel. All the founders of the country of Israel are Freemasons.
The freedom to speak, the freedom to express yourself without fear of censor. The hate speech law which has been proposed here in Ireland is one of the most draconian laws that's ever been introduced. And the idea is very simply is to stop you from criticising the government. Don't buy into this bullshit that it's about protecting the small guy. It's about safeguarding people's right to exist. This is about the government censoring you and stopping you from criticizing the government. They've already gone full tilt in Canada, and this law is based on the fact that for the last 3 years our supposed leaders and politicians took their orders from unelected officials, unelected scientists and unelected people like Big Pharma. And now that the crows are coming home to roost, and they are, count the ambulances that you hear today. There were no ambulances during the supposed pandemic, and now everywhere you look, ambulance after ambulance after ambulance. And if that doesn't tell you that something very, very wrong was perpetrated on innocent, naive, gullible people, then nothing will. So this hate speech law is coming at a time when the repercussions of the decisions that were made by these people are coming home to haunt them. And if you look at the spectrum now, you look at what is the idea behind the hate speech law, they will come up with all sorts of reasons. They'll tell you it was one thing and the other. The truth is, it is to silence you from blowing the whistle on what they have done. That's why there's a hate speech law being proposed. It's to protect politicians, it's to protect leaders, prime ministers, any of the people who are part of what has happened in the last 3 years. Do not want to be blamed or criticized or singled out for doing what they've done.
Oh, it's going to be right there. You cannot stick it in the ground. It's not going to work. Who did that? You got to put it in the shoe.
In a recent Time magazine article, Ray Dalio of Bridgewater Associates hedge funds warned that the world is on the brink of disaster. He came to this conclusion based on current events that haven't happened since the 1930s. The largest amounts of debt and inflation, the biggest gaps in wealth and values, resulting in the rise of populism on both the left and the right against the elites, and the greatest international conflict between world powers, most importantly, between the US and China. Peter Onge writes that the easy way out of this mess would be for the elite to proactively shrink in scope, get government out of the economy, out of social engineering, and out of propagandizing kids. But of course, this won't happen. Common sense and simple observation will tell you that the so-called elites will continue on their path towards economic destruction and world war, which is likely what the international bankers had planned all along. Let us not forget that the fast-growing BRICS monetary system was born in 2001 out of Goldman Sachs. In 1971, President Nixon officially ended the gold standard and replaced it with the petrodollar, in which OPEC agreed to price their oil in US dollars in exchange for US military protection. This blood money deal preserved US control over the world economy. But when the US weaponized the SWIFT payment system against Russia, BRICS became the only viable solution for the rest of the world. Reuters in New Delhi reported that last May, the State Bank of India rejected Indian Oil Corp's planned payment in US dollars for Russian oil. And so they went to a private bank and settled their trade for Russian oil by paying in yuan to the Bank of China, and have continued to do so since. A shortage of US dollars in Argentina has caused commercial banks to allow the Chinese yuan as a form of currency in savings and checkings accounts. Argentina has already been issuing securities in the Chinese yuan and has made a $2.7 billion payment to the International Monetary Fund using the Chinese BRICS currency. The Federal Reserve Bank's FedNow is scheduled for launch by the end of July. FedNow is officially an update to the Federal Reserve's payment processing and settlement system and appears to be a backdoor to creating a central bank digital currency. Private blockchain operator Tassat has partnered with the Federal Reserve's new payment system and will serve as an interface for FedNow.
And the one final note I will make is that if you think about the benefits of digital money, there are huge potential gains. It's not just about digital forms of physical currency. You can have programmability, units of central bank currency with expiry dates. You could have, as I argue in my book, a potentially better and some people might see it, or a darker world where the government decides that units of central bank money can be used to purchase some things, but not other things that it deems less desirable, like say ammunition or drugs or pornography or something of the sort. And that is very powerful in terms of the use of a CBDC.
He can stick his new world order up his arse. The following clip is what humanity is all about.
Believe it or they cannot believe it. I don't give two f***s, but I am telling you right now that back there is not real.
A child arrived just the other day. He came to the world in the usual way, but there were planes to catch and bills to pay. He learned to walk while I was away, and he was talking for I knew it. And as he grew, he'd say, I'm gonna be like you, Dad. You know I'm gonna be like you. And the cat's in the cradle and the silver spoon, little boy blue and the man on the moon. When you're coming home, Dad, I don't know when, but we'll get together then. You know we'll have a good time then. My son turned 10 just the other day. He said, thanks for the ball, Dad, come on, let's play. Can you teach me to throw? I said, not today, I got a lot to do. He said, that's okay, and he walked away, but his smile never dimmed. Said, I'm gonna be like him, yeah, you know I'm gonna be like him. And the cat's in the cradle and the silver spoon, little boy blue and the man on the moon. When you're coming home, Dad, I don't know when, but we'll get together then. You know we'll have a good time then. Well, he came from college just the other day. So much like a man, I just had to say, son, I'm proud of you. Can you sit for a while? He shook his head and he said with a smile, what I'd really like, Dad, is to borrow the car keys. See you later, can I have them, please? And the cat's in the cradle and the silver spoon, little boy blue and the man on the moon. When you're coming home, son, I don't know when, but we'll get together then, Dad. You know we'll have a good time then. I've long since retired, my son's moved away. I called him up just the other day. I said, I'd like to see you if you don't mind. He said, I'd love to, Dad, if I can find the time. You see, my new job's a hassle and the kids are the flu, but it's sure nice talking to you, Dad. It's been sure nice talking to you. And as I hung up the phone, it occurred to me, he'd grown up just like me. My boy was just like me. And the cat's in the cradle and the silver spoon, little boy blue and the man on the moon. When you're coming home, son, I don't know